What is a physical medium? How does a gallery reading differ from a one-on-one reading? Keep listening to find out. Welcome to the Peep Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Maroc, and I'm grateful you're here. The two big ideas behind the Peep Podcast are to show that the paranormal is more normal than most people think, and to connect the science to the psi, including ESP, psychokinesis, and intuition. In this episode, you'll meet physical medium Ashley Frye. But first, I have a quick reminder. 2025's Wake County Library's Haunted Carolina presentation is on October 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern, and it's online only. That's right, it's virtual, which means you don't have to be in Wake County to attend. You just have to register to get the Zoom link. It will not be recorded, so if you want to join, sign up and put a reminder on your calendar. The title of my presentation this year is Fright Nights, Horror Movies versus Reality from a Paranormal Investigator's Perspective. And I'll be discussing horror movies and the grains of truth some of the more popular ones are allegedly based on. And then I'll share how to tell if you're at war with the supernatural. It will be a fun presentation, and I hope you can join us. On Monday, October 13th at 7 p.m., my friends in the Ghost Guild are doing their Haunted Carolina presentation, also via Zoom. They've asked me to join them to share my story about the old Cavalier Hotel, and if you enjoyed the episode where I shared that story, or episode 82 when I interviewed co-founder Nelson Noss, I think you'll enjoy their presentation titled Alluring Destinations. Check in to the unexplained. I'll put their registration link in the show notes too. Now back to this episode, Physical Mediumship with Ashley Frye. Ashley offers a diverse range of services designed to empower you with clarity and confidence. Discover new perspectives through her psychic medium readings, carefully crafted to illuminate the optimal path forward in alignment with your highest good. Let's dive in with Ashley. Hi, Ashley. How are you doing tonight?
I am good, Nicole. I hope you're well.
I am. Thank you. I am so excited to have you on the show. We met at the Balance Fair just a couple of weeks ago, and I had a table. I had my sister with me. You did two different gallery readings, and my sister came to the first one. And when she came back out and sat at my table, she's like, if she's doing that again, you need to go. I'll stay through the rest of the fair to make sure that you have the chance to go. So she was impressed. I came, I was impressed. And I'm just thankful that you are here to talk about being a physical medium.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I just, the way that I usually start is by asking how everyone gets started on their path. So, what was it that made you either realize that you were a medium, or like what was the first experience that you remember?
I was very young and I had experiences that I didn't understand. And when I came to about, I would say about 14, I had a pretty open bunch of people around me. So we would do tarot cards and all this. And so I've been very open to spirituality from a young age. And it's just because I had a lot of experiences that you just couldn't explain. And I was like, well, I need to know what's behind this. So that was kind of like the motivator, like, oh, I want to know more. Um, so I've been, and when I was about 16, I started taking paid readings, and I'm in my 30s now. So I've been doing paid readings for about 20 years now. So it's pretty cool. I think one of the things that really was a catalyst for my growth was I grew up on a lot of land that was gifted to my family by Native Americans at some point. And so there's a lot of like little spectacular, like little spirit things that would happen every so once in a while. And we do have a family graveyard here on this land. And when I was younger, I would visit or I'd help, clean gravestones and stuff like that because we would do that. And like we went over there one night and it was just all these like little magical lights that couldn't be explained. They weren't fireflies. They weren't, they were staying in the same place, but they were twinkling and all this. I remember that being one of the biggest things. Like, I want to understand more about what's happening here. And really, it was like the spiritual world, like kind of like, thanks for, doing this and kind of like trying to open my eyes at a young age. Um, but it was just stuff like that you couldn't explain, like the lights that I would see. And then I don't know if you've ever been somewhere, like I went to Savannah a lot
Mhm.
traveling for work, and in some of those places there's a lot of dense spiritual energy there. And so I might go in a bathroom in a restaurant and hear like hello, and I'm like, okay, well, and then look, there's nobody there, and I was like, huh, there's nobody here, but somebody just said hello. So a lot of that happened to me growing up. So it
Mhm.
was kind of like I have to figure out why this is happening.
Yeah. I'm laughing because I've had that experience in Savannah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. So I love Savannah. New Orleans is my favorite. That's where I've been the most. But yeah, that's yes. We were in a bar next to the bar that the ghost tour visits, and
Hmm.
the bar next to it that we were in is just as haunted because I had a very similar experience in the bathroom.
I wonder if it was
Anyway,
the same bar because
I
I think it was like the Blue Moon or something that I ended
yes.
up. Okay, yeah, in the bathroom, I could feel there was a man in the bathroom, and when I was sitting there washing my hands, I was like, hold on, somebody's here. So look, same place, you got the same energy
That's awesome. Thank you. It's been like 2 or 3 years, and I just got corroboration from another psychic about that bar. That's
about that same
awesome.
spot. And that was a catalyst for me. Like I saw a lot of that when I didn't understand still what was happening, and I was like, okay, I've got to figure out like what's happening here.
So, does this does this run in your family at all, or are you the first one to have these experiences on that property?
Well, a lot of the people around me and my family aren't quite as open to spirituality as I am. I do know that I had a ancestor that was born in the 1800s here in my family that's buried on this land who was considered a gypsy and would make like potions for the sick people in the neighborhood or, tinctures and stuff. And they considered her the healer, and she would go around to different homes if their kids sick and stuff like that, and she would tend to them. So I do know that there was a possible connection there. But I did, she passed before I was ever born,
Hmm.
so I wouldn't have known her, but I did hear stories of, how we did have and for the time that she was alive, the stories we got, that was actually good, right? Like,
Right.
the healing and stuff going on. So I do know it runs in my family to an extent. And I think a lot of the other people in my family do have really, really great gifts that they could progress really far, but they're just not quite as open. So I can say I have some lineage, but I'm just not sure, where. I know of her, but um, people around me. Um, and my grandfather was a very spiritual person growing up, and I think that was also a catalyst. He was like a Baptist preacher,
Hmm.
so it kind of taught me like morality and all these other things that kind of helped build my foundation for spirituality as well. So I think that we had some really good psychics and mediums in my family, just never really tapped into it the way I did.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you mentioned while we were talking before the interview started that you have some mentors who helped you through this. So how did you meet the mentors? How did you decide who would be your mentor, or did you just kind of fall into it?
So again, this was kind of like another little aha moment or a miracle that was placed in my path. The way that I met the mentor who taught me mediumship was I had a friend taking a Reiki class with her, and I got invited just to see what it was about. And I didn't even know what Reiki was at the time. And so I went to the class, and I saw that I really identified with this lady's energy. So, and she was also a medium. So I booked a reading with her, and I say this is when I really identified with mediumship. This is probably about 2008, 2009. And when I got that reading from my first mentor, it was so spot on. And it was so like, after the reading, I asked myself, how does this woman even know me like that? Like, she doesn't know me. She didn't know these things. And so it kind of lit a fire. I was like, I want to know how to do that, you know?
Hmm.
Um, so that's how I picked my mentor. Like, I just actually happened to run into her. She was suggested by someone else, and I really resonated with her. And I took her classes for about, I want to say like 12 years. Like, I was, she took a sabbatical and things like that. But like in between, I was in her classes and stuff, trying to soak up everything I could learn from her. And, that's been really, really, really a pivotal point for me. And then her best friend was also a medium. And I just happened to somehow make the connection through another Reiki mentor for her. So I've just kind of followed in their steps,
Hmm.
seeing what the right way to deliver messages, wanting to know more of the, I guess, historical way to, deliver messages. The more, like the people at Lilydale, they have a way they do it. And so I wanted to learn that. So they just kind of fell in my lap, surprisingly. But
Hmm.
everything that's meant for us kind of does, right? It's all
Right.
very spiritual. Sometimes we miss the dings, you know.
Right. Yeah, and if you miss them often enough, you end up with something just smacking you in the face.
Yep,
Like,
yep. And those are
everything.
usually the lessons that make us like really look and say, okay, it's time to change my life, or it's really time to pivot here, or make a, but sometimes, yeah, it's just got to be like, here you go, because you're not going to listen either way.
Yeah. So, you mentioned Lilydale,
Mhm.
and I'm just gonna ask, like, you haven't been there yet, but it's on my bucket list.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
the they test the mediums up there so you can become a certified medium through Lilydale. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yes, so they do have a certification program, and if you're chosen, and they do a lot of other classes in Lilydale. You can go to numerology classes. You can go to lots of different things. They get teachers from all over the country, or people who have identified with Lilydale before, to come back and speak. So it's a very powerful healing place. But for a certification for a medium, they will pick. I don't know. I haven't actually signed up yet, but I believe that you go in a group and then they test you, and then of course you become certified. If the information they ask you for certain information, you have to deliver. So,
Hmm.
um, but they teach all things up there at Lilydale. But I think it's more of like a haven for like mediumship.
Yeah. And it's just such a historically significant location for spiritualism and
hmm
psychics and mediums and all of them, all of us.
There's actually a hotel. This is just a fun fact
Yeah.
in Lilydale that people will like keep booked out throughout the year. Like, you have to fight to get a spot there because there's a haunted room in a hotel somewhere there, and everybody wants to go experience. It's pretty interesting, but like people get hyped up. They're like, "Oh, this thing's booked out for the next year. We're gonna book it for next year so we can go and see." So I mean, they get a different hype in Lilydale about that type of stuff than we do, here in North
Right.
Carolina sometimes as well.
Definitely. Yeah, I can't. There's probably like two places in North Carolina I could think of where somebody would be like, "Yes, I want to stay in the haunted hotel."
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you learned how to become a medium from a couple of different mediums and Reiki masters.
hmm
How, like, what is I want to ask what is the process, which seems like a silly question coming from me, but like everybody has a different way of a different level of
Connecting.
psychic abilities, a different way of
hmm
connecting. So for you, what is the process?
For me, I make sure, because I channel mostly. I'm mostly a clear channel for spirit. So when people sit down in front of me, like I basically go into like trance mediumship, and that's where I'll channel. And to do that, a lot of people don't realize, but you have to have a clear aura. Like, we have multiple different layers to our aura. So you have a physical aura, you have a mental aura, you have a spiritual aura, and all those things kind of have to be in alignment. So you have to be, kind of like ready for that connection. So for me, it's like, I meet with my guides. on a daily basis. But if I have to go to a convention or speak, then they like clear the space for me. I will go and then I'll attune my body and make sure my channels are clear and I'll clear my mind. And so whatever comes in next would be for, the customer in front of me or the sitter is what we would call the mediumship.
Hmm.
Um, that's the actual process that I use, but there's lots behind it. You've got to make sure your etheric field is clear because every time you go out into public, if there's people out there that have bad emotions happening or they don't feel good, like you kind of like your aura kind of clings to all that stuff out in the world, and especially if you're an empath. If you're an empath, you're just taking all that stuff up.
Hmm.
So it's actually a lot because you have to kind of meet spirit. Like I have to raise my vibration to a certain level to meet and get spirit messages. So it's very important that I keep that aura field like clear so that I know that what's coming through is from spirit and not from like other people's stuff. And you know what I'm saying? Like the
Yep.
stuff that kind of gets on you from out in the world, I guess you could say.
Yeah. No, as somebody who is both an emotional and physical empath, I totally get it. I just keep
Yeah.
my walls up all the time until I'm in a situation where it makes sense to pull them down because I can't, I feel short circuited if I'm walking around just exposed to all of that all the time.
hmm Well, and before we leave, I can actually teach you and everyone here a little exercise to keep that aura bubble kind of strengthened. So you don't have to put walls up per se, but you can protect your energy throughout the day. So we'll do that at the end. Just remind me.
Oh, awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would love that.
that's good for everybody to know. Everybody needs to keep the junk out of their energy field.
Yes. Yeah, especially these days.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so when like my experience with you was it was a very intimate gallery reading. I think there were six
hmm
of us in the room. Um, when you are doing that, like how how do you experience it? Because from sitting there, we're not seeing the people in the room, or
Yeah.
the people on the other side who are talking to you. So like, do you experience it visually or more intuitively? Like, how
Yeah.
does that work for you?
So I don't see a lot of like physical in-world apparition type stuff. Like that's actually takes a lot of energy for like spirit people to manifest in, the physical reality.
Hmm.
So you'll usually see that at, like times where your energy is condensed and you're alone or something. But like in a normal setting, the way that I would get messages for those people is that I have my team that I work with and they're kind of directing me. They're saying, okay, we're connecting with so and so over here and we have this person coming through. So really I connect with that person. My spirit guides give me what they feel like is for that person's highest and greatest good. And then as soon as that's been delivered or whatever they feel like has helped them the most, and I try to always make sure that if they have a question, I can leave that open for spirit to answer because, it's a lot
Hmm.
to process at one time. Um, and then kind of like the messages will stop from this person and I can almost feel my energy being drawn to like the left or the right to look in the direction of the next person they're trying to get me to go towards. um, and a lot of the messages I get are visual. I do get auditory messages when I'm not listening to my guides. So, when I'm alone, I'll be like, I'll hear, hey, or, something like that. And it's like, oh, I know I'm not listening. But for the most part, when I'm delivering messages in a gathering setting, I'm just, going to wherever I feel drawn. And again, I'm in channel mode. So most of the time, I don't remember what I tell anyone because
Hmm.
that's just something I'm taught. Like, that's their business. You're delivering the messages for them to fix whatever it is they need to be fixed. And then it kind of closes off and just moves. So they'll show me like visuals of like, especially the loved ones in spirit in my own mind of like, this is how they want to appear. This is what they want to show this person for, validation. And then again, as soon as spirit's kind of like, I don't want to say done with the person or done giving messages to that person, they're like, oh, it's time for this. So um, it's really interesting and time kind of stands still. So like before you came, there was another group of a few more people and I was in there for a full hour, but it only felt like 15 minutes to me.
Yeah.
So the time was just flying as I was giving those people the readings too, because I was just kind of absent, I was just giving, channel messages. So it's really interesting. But yeah, that's kind of like how it work in that setting
Yeah. That
or what
is
I'm
really interesting.
experiencing.
Yeah. I mean, yes, the group that my sister was in, I I think it was almost a full hour, and
Yeah.
she's she was very impressed, and she's hard to explain her because she's interested in all of this, but she at the same time does not talk openly about it that
Hmm.
much. I mean, she can with
Yeah.
me because I'm me, but like most
Yeah.
people don't know that she's curious about it. And she tends to be a little on the skeptical side. So for her to come out and be like, you have to go in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was
What?
interesting to me because just real quick, like
Yeah.
our grandfather came through for both of us, but he came through in different ways.
Yeah. So you would both know how to identify him, or it was in the
Hmm.
way that you would identify him with.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for me, I was thinking, okay, is this, we call him Pop Up, is this Pop Up or because I have other grandfathers who passed before um I was like, I can remember them. So I'm thinking maybe it was somebody else. But then you said something about horses, and I knew, okay, yeah, that's definitely Pop Up because they had horses when I was a child and they were the only ones who did. So then I was like 100% I knew
Sure.
that was right. For her it was like immediately she knew it was Pop Up for sure. So it was just very cool. A very cool experience.
Yeah.
Um so when that was your experience for a gallery reading, is it different when you're doing one-on-one?
People get more detailed information out of a one-on-one where everybody just kind of got validation that spirit was with them. And that gallery reading,
Mm-hmm.
like from what everybody was getting, it was kind of like giving them a couple good things coming through in their life. But it was more like, spirit's here, they're supporting you. It was more of a validation show. If people book
Yeah.
a one-on-one experience with me, spirit is open to answer anything about life. And that's when people can really kind of hone in on the places that they want. Like, say they're moving. Like, I have clientele that will send me maps and they want me to circle where intuitively I feel like they should look for homes. And so that wouldn't be something I would do in a gallery reading. It would have to be like a
Right.
personalized one-on-one. Or for like people have lost their car keys before and then sent me like $30 to be like, psychically tell me where my car keys are. And then they'll be exactly wherever I've said. Like, I mean, a lot of people book me for many different reasons. Pets, because I can also communicate with pets, or do mediumship with pets, and it's basically just spirit telling me, what's going on with the animal. Um, Love, career, when people are moving jobs or people are wanting to move jobs or to see if a move would be positive or negative for them, they come to me. So a gallery reading is great to get validation, but if you're really wanting to get down to like, where can I fix my life? Where do I have hiccups? Where do I have blockages? What is the most positive way to move forward with this situation or that situation? Or even if it's just like, I need to check in with my deceased loved ones and check to make sure they're okay on the other side. I do
Mhm.
all of those things and more in a personalized reading. So I think that when people book one-on-one with me, they get much more for the money than you would in a gallery reading. A gallery reading is just like, spirits with you.
Mhm.
So
That's cool. So, okay. So, what are some of the stories of moments when you have, whether it's been a gallery reading or a one-on-one, without sharing details of clients, but just
yeah.
moments where somebody has just kind of been gobsmacked by what you've been able to tell them?
The first thing that comes to my mind more than anything wasn't even a reading. I also offer something called a soul sketch. And that's where, like, we all have a higher self. And so I ask spirit to show me what your higher self looks like and the message that your higher self wants to bring to you in this lifetime through that soul sketch. So it's kind of like mediumship, but more on like me talking to my guides and then relaying like what it is that your soul needs you to know, because your conscious mind and your soul mind are not always tied. And this person, I mean, it was an international client, so someone I didn't know, here in North Carolina. This person was like in New Zealand or somewhere like that. And they were like, I want to do this, and they didn't even give me a photo of themselves. I just basically went off the energy of their name and their phone number or whatever information they left on my website, And I didn't, I tried to email them and say, hey, it's on the way or whatever, and I didn't get any response, so I figured they was busy. But when the person got the picture in the mail, which was a little while longer, they opened it and they immediately messaged me back, and they were like, you have to know, like, this is so resonant. And I didn't realize at the time because the picture is a guy holding a book reading to children, and the children's like, we're the future, we want to learn more, things like that were kind of coming out of their mouths on the picture. And this guy was like, I'm literally about to publish my first children's book.
Oh,
He was like,
wow.
this is such validation. And again, the only information he gave me was his name and, his address or phone number, whatever information he left. I never saw a picture, or anything like that. So in my mind, that was a big, like, whoa, like spirit's here to show me that what I'm doing is the right path, but it's also showing that person. So that was a big aha moment for me. It was like, oh, you can't even make this up.
Yeah, that's
um,
amazing.
so that's one. And again, I do the big body, the body, mind, spirit. And when I do that, I get a lot of clientele, and I get a lot of clientele that aren't expecting mediumship messages. They're expecting to see their aura explained or something like that. So I get a lot of shock and awe right there because, you can see their jaw drop, or you can see people like, wow, because they're not expecting that as well. So I do a lot there, but I do have one guy in particular who really kind of, was super impressed because he came to that booth and he was stone cold non-believer and nothing was going to change his mind because we were all whatever. And
Yeah.
his wife had the aura picture and he was just sitting with her, and immediately spirit was like, go to him. I delivered a message about his grandfather and how at like the age of 16 he learned to drive a stick on a dump truck with his grandpa, and they did this construction work together and all this, and that guy like stood up, started crying, and was like, this lady's the most legit person in this building. That was a big aha for me because I almost was like kind of in trance mode still. I was like shocked. I was like, what's happening? Um, but like that's spirit needed to impact him that day. So I knew that even though he was a non-believer, he would sit there so that he could see the other side. So he went home with a lot to process and chew off, I'm sure,
Oh,
after
yeah.
that. Um, so I tend to do that a lot. I tend to do that a lot. And I do a lot of online readings as well for
Mm.
like TikTok and Facebook, and those people on the internet as well, like, keep coming back because even though I don't get to see their faces, like the answers resonate so much, or things will happen, they just keep coming back. So I see a lot of it. So I know that I'm placed where spirit or people need to know spirits around, because it's
Yeah.
like, here's Ashley. She's going to give you some validation.
Yeah. That's so when you do it on Facebook or TikTok, are you doing it through like private messages, or are you just doing like a
Mm,
Facebook Live and you're just saying
yeah,
whatever comes
live.
through?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and for each individual person, like on TikTok, every full moon I'll do a live program, or the closest date to the full moon that I'm available, I do a live program on TikTok. And there has been nights that I'll be in there and have 120 people present, and there's just like questions, and I do ask for like gifts and things like that to answer questions, but it's just like rapid fire, yes or no, or they'll ask about relationships and stuff. So I do a lot of messages online too, um,
Oh,
and I get a lot of like shock factor there as well because there was one guy online. I will say this: I think this is the biggest impact I've made online. There was a guy who found me on TikTok, and he was going through some like custody stuff and some other stuff that really was stressing him out. Like you could tell, like, he was just so down and out. And he didn't, you could tell he wasn't like an avid believer, but I was so close to the point. Like he was like, I've got to book an appointment with this lady. So I took his appointment, and getting off the phone, that man spent probably 10 minutes thanking me. He was like, thank you so much for what you do. He was like, you've helped me so much just in like 30 minutes. I couldn't get this type of healing, and this wasn't like the healing type, he wasn't out searching for healing, but
yeah.
he just got it, because he ran into me. So I love when that happens. It's like the catalyst that keeps me going because I know that if there's anything my messages do, it's help people see the brighter side.
Yes.
Um, and so it's just really amazing to know that I can make these many connections.
Yeah. I love that for you. And I say that because I'm somebody who like I'll get stuff intuitively, but I've never studied to become a medium, and I'm not a natural at it. I've talked to a few people on the podcast who just like it just happened.
Hmm.
So one day they just woke up and they were talking to dead people. And
Yeah.
um and I think, when I was a teenager, I was tired of seeing ghosts, so I said I don't want to see anymore, and that
Yeah.
pretty much put the kibosh on
Hmm.
that. Um so like I love that you've embraced it and you've learned how to do it and you're able to make such an impact on so many people. Oh, so we were talking about TikTok and Facebook. What is your
Yeah.
handle on TikTok?
My name.
Yeah.
It's
It's
so my business name is ashtree.com, and you can look me up on any of the social media platforms. And if you go to my website, the easiest way to find all my social media platforms is to go to ashtree.com, which is ASHETREE.com. And go to the very bottom of the page, and all of the links are conveniently there at the very, like the bottom, where you can
okay.
just click and go to any of those. If you'd like to join me on any of those like little events that I do online.
Okay. And I'll put a link to your website in the show notes so
Oh
it's
yeah,
easy for people
wonderful,
listening to find you. Um,
wonderful.
okay. So was there anything else you wanted to talk about? Like,
Well, when you were talking about, you shut out the ghosts and stuff, I immediately spirit came to me and was like, so spirit will not do things you're not uncomfortable with. So if you
mhm.
felt scared by seeing spirit or you felt like you were closing them out, they're listening to your boundaries. For example, like one of my mentors, she says that the one thing that she has with spirits is she does not want to look up and see one in the mirror behind her. She's like, that's where I
Right.
draw the line. So they
Right.
won't do that. So you can, if you want to explore more of spirituality for yourself, or you want to explore more of deepening your intuition, you can just set some boundaries with your spirit people to tell them what's okay and what's not, because a lot of people don't realize that
Mhm.
that's an option, but they do listen to you. And if you feel like something's going to scare you, then they'll deliver messages in another way through your intuition so that you can get them. So that I just felt like I needed to tell you that. And maybe the audience, maybe they don't realize, like,
Mhm.
spirit's not here to scare us. Spirit's not here to, they're really here to support and love us and show us that even when things get hard, there's an upper road, a road of peace and clarity. So I think their message there was like, if you don't like something, you can tell them, and then they'll deliver the message in a different way. Um, but
Yeah.
I just felt like I needed to say that. So,
And I appreciate that because that's something that I've talked about it on the podcast, so the regular listeners know this, but I feel like I shut it down and then I spent so many years afraid to open it back up that I'm like kind of in a stuck mode. Like,
yeah.
what if I do but yeah, if I looked up and somebody was in the mirror with me, I would
Oh, yeah.
I would freak. So I would
Yeah.
not be able to handle that one too well. But I have spontaneous mediumship through my dreams. So the same grandfather
Hmm.
that came through to you has come through in my dreams before. Um, and an aunt who passed when she was in her 30s, and the dear friends that have passed. And I don't mind that at all
Yeah, that's
because
dream visitation. That's what that
yeah,
is.
it's beautiful. And I usually wake up crying just because I know I'm coming out of it and I miss them.
Hmm.
But I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get like words and things like that. Like you can tell when it's a message stream as opposed to just
It feels
random
real.
brain dump dreams. Yeah.
It
Like,
feels real when you're there with the person in a dream visitation.
yes. So they do when I need a message, they do find a way to come through to me. But I do appreciate your message because
Absolutely.
that goes along with actually what you said during the gallery reading, which you probably don't remember because you said you
No.
you wouldn't. Um, Pop Up was saying that I needed to make more time for myself for meditation, which was just like hilarious to me. It's like he was listening to mine and my sister's conversation earlier that day about how I needed to meditate more. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, more validation.
And spirit people are with you. So like if you came to a gallery reading, just a better explanation of like how this works. Your spirit people are with you all day. So if your grandfather knew I was going to be there, knew he had a chance to connect with you, then he was already getting hyped up for that. So he was probably with you all day, but just time for the reading, he followed you in that room, was like, "Hey, Ashley, here you go," like. because they do. They like follow me because they know that I can deliver the message. So like they were probably waiting on it. So spirit people are with you all the time. They just come to me to give the message. So he probably was
Mhm.
listening over, and he was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, there you go."
Yeah, I love it because I definitely got the I got the message. I said
Good.
it, and then and then he said through you, like, look at my calendar and pencil in time, and I live and die by my calendar. So like, and
And
no,
there you
I don't
go.
have it on my calendar. I should put it on my calendar. So yeah,
That's 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 the
it's
next
really
thing
good.
you got to do is to like schedule the time for you and
Yep.
your growth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Intuition and like getting messages. Anybody on earth can do it also. So it's just the fact that we might be blocked in a way or something like that, but it is available for all of us to grow
Mhm.
as well.
Yeah. And that's something that I love that people who are interested in learning it, all they have to do is, I mean, these days you can find it on YouTube or TikTok or Facebook, but
Yeah.
just to find somebody that they feel comfortable with, that they vibe with, that can teach them what they need to know. And it's a whole lot easier to have these conversations these days than it was 20, 30 years ago.
Or even before that, or last lifetimes, we definitely wasn't. I mean, I was probably talking about all this, but they were probably giving me the cold shoulder for it too.
Right? Yeah, I've had three different psychics tell me that I was hanged as a witch in a previous life, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably why I didn't talk about it when I was a kid.
Yeah,
Like,
well, and there is something serious called the witch wound that we all have to heal as spiritual healers, and it's from past lives where we have been kind of put down for our special healing abilities. So, if you haven't looked at that wound, that could be something to explore there because we all have that if we have been spiritual or intuitive beings in every lifetime.
oh, that's interesting. I've never actually heard of the witch wound, but that
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it is. It's just, and it can be, it carries you from lifetime to lifetime until you're like, you know what? I'm gonna embrace who I am. I'm gonna embrace these powers that I have, because they're God given. They're a beautiful
Hmm.
thing. So, yeah, there's a lot that goes around, kind of opening yourself up for this, but definitely you have to look at that too and how it applies to you because for every soul's evolution, it may apply to a different part of your life.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, okay, I am trying to be very aware of your time here,
Yeah, yeah.
and you said that you could teach us how to like,
Do
how
an
did you
aura
say,
bubble.
strengthen the aura bubble?
Yes.
That's what I
So
was
this
thinking.
is
Yes.
this is called the oral bubble exercise, and this is something anybody, any listener, you don't have to be intuitive. You can just be regular old you. You have to have no previous knowledge of this, and you can do this. And this is a great way if you're an empath or you're sensitive to energies to strengthen your aura around you and to keep the negative energies from like being out in public or being around people kind of out of your zone. So this is, and the rule to it is kind of like do it. A lot of people say morning, lunch, and then dinner. So like 3 times a day, especially if you're out in public a lot. But if you're at home and you know you're going out and you just need to put that bubble up, you can do that anytime. But this is just a really, really simple way to clear your system. So the first thing you want to do is just like, you want maybe go outside. I always like to go outside and ground my feet because when you ground your feet on the earth, you're receiving all these beautiful positive ions from nature, and nature is life. So if you can go outside, if you can't, that's okay. But if you can ground, it's better. And as you start to ground, if you can just visualize your bubble around you, and as you're visualizing that bubble, are there weak spots? Are there places that need to be healed? And if you identify those, what you're going to do is you're just going to start to just take some deep breaths. And you always want to inhale through your nose and then hold for about 3 seconds and then let it out slowly. And there is no number of breaths. When you're taking a breath, you like almost visualize a white light developing inside your circle, your aura bubble. If you have places in your body or your auric field that look damaged, you can breathe light into that direct space. Let's say your knee hurt and you're like, I really want this pain to go away. I'm going to breathe. You're just going to visualize the knee and just seeing that breath going straight to the knee. Um, and then clearing out any energy. So you'll take as many breaths as you need to fill the whole bubble up with your white light and make sure that any dark gray spaces that you might see are gone. And as you do that, as your bubble fills up, and your aura field goes about 2 foot out all the way around, even below the ground. So visualize the whole thing. And as you're visualizing it completely filled with white light, you want to almost see an eggshell forming. An eggshell can let things in and out, so it's not like building a brick wall around you. You don't want to build a cement a brick wall, so you want to do like an eggshell, so you can breathe. It can come in and out. And if you do that, and this literally the whole process maybe takes 3 minutes. I'm just over explaining. um,
Mm-hmm.
but if you do that, you will instantly feel once you've disconnected, you will feel like you have a shield around you. And I've seen my mentor do exercises before and after, like, going at somebody without it or a bubble, and you can see it actually like the person stand back because their energy was a lot,
Mm-hmm.
versus like once the aura bubble up, if somebody comes at you with a lot of energy, it won't affect you. So this is a
That's
great way to protect yourself all day long. You can go outside of work, you can take your 15-minute break and do this within 3 minutes and just clear your energy so that you feel like you're more empowered. You feel like you're more of your space, you're more in control, and you're protected.
that is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great tool, and a lot of people don't know about it. But if you know about that, you can protect, especially empaths, you can protect yourself from so much of the weird energy that's happening out in the world, especially if you got to go to like Walmart or, somewhere like that. Because, there's always some
Right.
strange energy and the bouncing around the walls of those places.
Oh yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that because it, it 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 resonates with me on a level that and some it brought back something that I hadn't thought about in a while. But like in my 20s when I first started hanging out with psychics, trying to understand what was going on with me, I used to picture a bubble of white light around myself and I would
Oh,
just throw it out there.
you're just waking up
And
from another lifetime.
yeah, I just like, and for whatever reason, I kind of got away from that, and I was more the like energy shields up. Maybe it's the sci-fi era I went through. I
Yeah.
don't know. But yeah, so like you just described that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I used to kind of do that. I didn't take the full
Mm-hmm.
3 minutes and do the breath work though, so that adds
Yeah.
another layer to it that I really like.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, if you want to take it to a different level, if you're working on chakra, you can add a color to your bubble. You can do whatever you want to. Like if you wanted to visualize crystal gems hanging on the outside of that bad boy, like, if you believe that tourmaline is going to protect you from everything, you can put tourmaline on the outside. Whatever is a visual representation to make you feel protected, and of course to
Yep.
make you feel like your energy can't be penetrated. So
Yeah, that's
that
that's
is
so
cool.
great.
I'm glad that
Yes.
resonated with you because I don't know that a lot of people knew that. So that's awesome that you'd already experienced it.
Yeah, I just, you know, sometimes you get away from things and you need somebody else to remind you what you used to know. I love it.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for doing this tonight. I really do appreciate it. And like I said, I will put a link in the show notes to your website. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you and book a reading or follow you on social media, they can get to you pretty easily.
Absolutely. And if they message me through my website, it actually sends a text to my phone. So, and even if it's an email format for them, that is the easiest way to contact me if they have questions, concerns, or they're just wanting to know a little more information about what I do.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're so very welcome. Thank you for having me, Nicole. This has been a pleasure.
Thanks again to Ashley for sharing her experiences, and thanks to you for listening. If you want to share your own personal paranormal experiences of any type, use the contact form at peeppodcast.com to get in touch. You can be as anonymous as you like, or you can let your paranormal freak flag fly and share your name. Either way, I'm happy to hear from you. Sharing our stories helps people realize that the paranormal is much more normal than they think. That's PEEPpodcast.com. Remember, that stands for People Experiencing Everyday Paranormal. While you're there, subscribe to my newsletter to keep up with the podcast and all my creative and energetic endeavors. I usually only email it once a month, unless I have a special event you should know about. You'll receive briefs on recent episodes, information on any upcoming appearances, like the virtual ones on the 13th and the 20th, plus some occasional fun extras. If you enjoy the podcast, please give it some rating love on your favorite podcast app, share it with friends, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Ratings, reviews, and shares help platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify know it's worthy of surfacing to new listeners. And as we build our audience, we have more chances to hear their paranormal stories. A huge thank you to everyone who has given the show some love. You're helping it grow. No matter how you support the show, listening, telling others about it, or any other way, I absolutely appreciate your being here. Thanks again for listening. Stay safe and be well.